Good morning and happy Saturday, all. We are getting a couple things in the van done this weekend. There's no camp trip this week. We were out last week, had a blast again. It was much better weather. Have a video posted from that. We did a little cooking video. Apparently I need to work on my cooking video skills. It was a great weekend all in all. One of the things we've been trying to do with some of these quick weekend trips is A, enjoy the van, but B, kind of see how do we want to do some of these finished pieces versus just build it all, go out there and go, well, I wish we had done this differently. So it's actually been a really big help in some of the things we're doing. So this morning, doing some work on the van. Let me take you on a little tour to see what we're working on today. So this morning what we're doing is starting to put some of the finish walls up and get the electric wired in more permanently. Some of our 12-volt switches have come. This is one of the switches that is a non-dimming switch, just a on-off. We do have a dimmable switch that we're going to end up putting back there in the bed area, and that's probably going to be the only place that will have a dimmable switch. They're actually really hard to find. We could only find one out there. But today we're putting in some of the switches. We're also, if you recall, back here we had the red cable hanging here up above, all wrapped in with a little toggle switch to our LED lights. And we had the extension cord that was just kind of hanging here. What we've done is we've mounted a piece of 1/2-inch plywood to the two boards that are here. If you look back behind there, you can still see the extension cord and the 12-volt wiring back there where we'll mount the switch. The 120 outlet that we put in, I didn't mount a box or anything. I just took the outlet itself, wrapped the end of that extension cord hooked in the extension cord into the back of this, and then wrapped it with electrical tape. Just mounted this directly on the plywood, and for now, until I get a prettier faceplate, this faceplate will mount perfectly right there. Down this crack we'll put some trim. I had to put some duct tape down here because the first faceplate fell down a crack there and there was no way for me to get it back out. My wife thinks that's hilarious, but I guess it's just a history of the build of the van. So we'll end up putting that, screwing that faceplate on. And a lot of this stuff here, we're just going to cover up with some trim going up the side, maybe some quarter round up the side, and maybe some extra cedar tongue and groove up here. We'll put up at the top. We'll cover these screws over with, maybe like a shelf here, some kind of spice rack or metal rack over here on the side. That's been putting the magnetic spice canisters there, so we may mount something metal there for mounting things, and some trim down here. And I'll put a piece of trim down here. It's really easy at the end of the day, kind of covering up these screws, because you have to remember you're coming in here with shelves later. So this is 1/2-inch plywood. We can mount stuff to this. This is 1/2-inch plywood. We'll mount stuff to this. Have our cooking area. Remember, this is the cooktop. The finish on this plywood. This is a 1/2-inch birch plywood, and the finish on that plywood is just some food safe wood oil on all of these surfaces, on this surface here, on this surface here, and on the sink counter. So you can see we're getting a few scratches on there. So when we get it all finished, we'll put another coat there. So really this morning, this is the piece we're working on. It's kind of nice to start to see some of the spaceship reflectix get covered up with some finish wood. It's kind of satisfying. But it was kind of a bummer to see that for so long. But again, I think it was necessary so that we could see just what we needed and how we wanted to cover this up. Are we just going to put some 1/4-inch covering over there, or in some areas like this, did we want to use a 1/2-inch piece of something where we could actually bolt into and mount some things on it? So I'm glad we kind of held off and waited on that. One of the things we had to deal with on this board and this board here, and you can see where this bottom board kind of jutted out a little bit more, and I wanted them more equal with the edge of the van, because what we'll do is I'll I'll take a piece of trim, some 1/4-inch cedar, I'll cut it on the bandsaw with the right angle, and I'll just trim this so you won't see this. I'll just close this in and be able to attach it here, and along the edge of the board here. So I'll trim this open space out. But if you look in here, in this open space, you kind of see everything back there. But the reason I really want to point these boards out is we got a new tool, and that's one of the great things about building a van out, because you get the go-ahead to buy the coolest tools ever. So basically, we've been utilizing, I have a DeWalt 20 watt battery, or 20 volt battery, sorry, the drill. And what I did is I went to Lowe's and I bought an oscillating saw that shares the same type of battery, and I was really excited because this is the first time that I've ever had battery powered tools where I could actually buy another tool and still operate off of the same type of battery. But this tool is the coolest thing ever. So last night, kind of, let me pop the battery in here. If I unlock it here, you kind of see, just squeeze this trigger, and you kind of see that saw oscillating back and forth. So basically what we did with this is just kind of cut it in like a butter knife, if you will. I think the funniest thing about this is when we cut the ends of those two pieces off. It was probably about 10:30 here last night when we did that. And if you look, we kind of live in the woods and there's neighbors out and about. The echo that the sound of this made with the van and the wood cutting just echoed out through the woods. And I was surprised to not see this morning in the paper that somebody thought they heard a Sasquatch or something like that. It was making the strangest sound going out, but it was really funny listening to it. I wish I had videoed it. It was kind of cool. Just a real quick on these 12 volt switches. They come in the back with these little tabs here, like you might go to Lowe's or something and get like a little clip that goes on there. Personally, I'm going to solder them to these. Personally, a good solder joint, I'll trust that over a clip any day to stay tight. And then this 12 volt switch is just going to mount right up in here, and I'll pull this wire out the side, tie it up, and then tuck it back before I put the trim up. So it'll, if there's ever a problem, it's readily accessible. Okay, so we're abandoning soldering because that is just, these switches just really can't take it. They just can't take the heat. I did this one switch, and just the heat of these tabs, it's kind of ruined the inside of the switch. So back to Lowe's we went, and we got wire clips. And we're going to clip these ends on. Save ourselves a lot of time and aggravation and burns. So these are, what size are these? These are 12 to 10 gauge, which my wire here is with the solder on it, which I'm going to leave. That's about right. So I'm going to utilize that. Let's see, I do also have some 16 to 14 gauge. Let's see if that fits a little tighter. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go with that one because that's a nice snugger fit for the wire. So we're going to go with the 16 to 14 gauge, crimp them down, and then this little guy will then snap right on these and make a nice connection there. So soldering was with good intention, but through all the burns and aggravation and the melting, we're going to go with just clips. Call it a day. Clamp you down. You're a nice snug fit. Test my switch. And success. So fish all this back through the hole here. screw him on, and we should be golden. Would have been nice if these 12-volt switches came with the clips needed, but they didn't. Nice. Got my cover on. Done. So we now have our instant on lighting, IOL, for those who have seen the movie Arthur, good stuff, and our 120 outlet, all wired, ready for sound. Okay, so here's our finished product. We have our 12-volt light switch, we have our 120, and now we've trimmed it out. I've put a, it's like 3/4 inch by 2 inch piece down in here, some quarter round up the side. I trimmed out a little piece of cedar and nailed it in up at the top, and then to hide all the wires down the side, I kind of boxed it in over here with some more cedar we just trimmed up. So all in all, I think it came out pretty good, actually. It's nice to see at least a little bit of the tin foil now covered up. So one section complete. Okay, so those are the things that we're working on today. I'm just seeing how much we can get done this weekend since we're not out and about. It is the first weekend in August, and we have the Asheville, North Carolina van rally coming up the third weekend in September. I think it's the weekend of the 21st, somewhere in there. So if you're traveling about and you're on the East Coast, love to meet you out there. Can't wait to meet some other van folks out there and just kind of see what the different ideas are. Earlier today, my dad brought some friends from Canada in, and one of them was has some experience in the nautical world, the sailboats and so forth, and really noted the different things that you see, whether it's a van or in the maritime, the nautical world, because we borrow a lot of ideas from the boating world too. So that was kind of cool. Safe travels, you guys. I hope your trip goes well and so forth, and stay safe. But one of the things that has really been a challenge with this, and I'll do a video on this in and of itself, is with a lot of these things, as I watch different van builds, some of these things seem like they should be way easier. I think the difference we're running into here, we haven't drilled a single hole in this van yet. So everything we are building in this van is completely modular. It can completely be unbolted, taken out. There's been no self-tapping screws at all put into this van. I'm utilizing all of the existing holes in the van that came from the factory, and sometimes that poses an extra challenge in the way you can build something, especially with some of these indent wall coverings. It's not like I can just drill some self-tappers in and throw some support beams up and then throw some siding up. That would certainly be a lot easier, but again, my goal is I don't want to drill a single hole in this van. I don't want that added chance of rust or etc. Or if someday you want to trade the van in or do something, you could either sell it as it is built out, or it's you could empty it out and it's back to an original empty cargo van. So it has certainly added an extra challenge to this project, and really makes you think through some of these things. So that's what I have for today. Thanks for coming along. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you like the content we're putting out. Share the video if you think about it, and until next time, peace. We will see you down the road. So it's now connected to there pretty solid. I don't like it because it's off a little bit, and putting your fingers on the iron is not a good thing.